Welcome to another episode of the Terry and Frank Show. Today, we're going to be talking about the low EQ coworker. If you've been following this series, we've talked about other low types like the low empathy leader. Today, we're doing the low EQ coworker. Foot in the mouth syndrome. They make everybody uncomfortable. We've talked about other personality types that are really unproductive and very negative. So I hope you're tuning into the series. This is going to be a good one. Next week, we're going to do the in-crowd leader, which I think is a very good topic because if you've ever worked for one of these people and you're not in the in-crowd, you know it.
You know it.
So Terry, let's talk about the low EQ coworker. Who are these people? What are they like?
Yeah. So these are the folks that are around you that make everybody around them uncomfortable. They are constantly saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. That proverbial foot in the mouth is kind of how they just live life. They're constantly just saying the wrong things, making people feel uncomfortable. And as a result, people are exiting their conversations with them very as quickly as possible. They want to get out of there. This person is that person that doesn't know how to recognize personal boundaries. They're
Yeah.
constantly crossing over boundaries and getting in your personal space. They may be that close talker that's just way too close, having that conversation, just making people feel uncomfortable all the way around. And so you want to avoid that person. You try to exclude that person as much as possible. Only
Yeah.
deal with them when you have to. So these are the kind of folks that we're talking about today.
Yeah. So, overall, EQ is the ability to understand emotion in yourself and others and to regulate your emotions. And so these people do none of it, or perhaps are missing a couple of pieces. They may have, one aspect of EQ down, but real low EQ people really don't do any of that well. So, that social norms, like what is the appropriate social distance, which varies by society. I don't know. I've read articles on it, and they've measured what that is. These people are oblivious to that.
Right.
They're oblivious to facial expressions. They don't get how other people are reacting. So that signaling system is broken. So as they do foot in the mouth stuff and other people cringe, they don't even pick up on it.
Right.
So that feedback mechanism is missing. And, I think that they're untrainable personally. I mean, I've seen them, it's just a blind spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because you feel bad for the person. You
Mhm.
feel like, any normal, rational person would not have said something so callous in the middle of a meeting or, something so inappropriate to a female coworker or, just at the wrong time making the wrong comment or some inappropriate joke. So, on the one hand, you feel bad for this person because you want everybody to succeed and be successful in work, and you want to work with this person. Everybody wants to get along well with people,
Mhm.
but sometimes it's just difficult and you really cannot, like you said, this person has lived their life. They can't learn these things on the fly because they have that mechanism to understand the different subtleties in just facial expressions,
Yeah.
or
Missing.
recognizing that their people are constantly walking away from them or avoiding them. They totally miss it.
Yeah, humans are the strongest sensor, period, in the world. I mean, they're picking up so much information all the time.
Right.
And that part of the sensor is broken for these people. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
that simple, right? They just
Yeah.
don't have it. They're the ones who, you can have somebody who's, a wife is suffering from breast cancer and they'll make some inappropriate thing about breast cancer awareness week, and everybody will cringe except for them because they just don't even get that that is a bad thing to say when this other individual's sitting right next to them. They do all sorts of stuff that's just
Right.
cringe worthy. Ugh,
Right. Right. And you kind of gasp or pull back and you think maybe they'll recognize, but they just keep right on going with
no,
whatever they're doing. They don't even
no,
get.
clueless. I think
Yeah.
clueless is the word. Do
So
you
how
think
do
that,
you
you can, do you think you can are they coachable? What's your
Yeah.
opinion?
I think they can be coached if they're willing to recognize that there's a problem. So it's hard to coach somebody that doesn't think anything is wrong.
Mhm. And
That's,
they
one of
can't
the
pick
things
it
I
up.
was going to ask, how do you deal with this person? I think coaching is a great way to do that. So as a leader, you owe it to them as their leader Just pull them to the side and say, hey, that was a little bit inappropriate. And let's have a conversation about it, to help them really understand where you're coming from. I think as a leader, you owe it to them to try to coach them, to
You
try to
do.
help them see, this is probably not the best thing to say, and then coach them with other tips on, when to speak. And sometimes the best thing to say is nothing.
Mhm,
Sometimes just keeping your mouth shut in the situation is really the best way to go. But you've got to be in tune with yourself and, have that emotional intelligence to say, wait a minute, maybe I should not make a remark about this at all.
mhm.
That takes some real self control.
It is that emotional control. It's being aware that that is an unacceptable comment, it's social ineptitude. And
Right.
I have taken people aside, because I led people for many years and taken them aside and said, there was a real uncomfortable moment in that meeting. Did you pick up on that? And like, no. And then you get into whatever it was, because it could be a teaching moment, but may not be.
Yeah.
And not get
And,
through.
sometimes people are just so self consumed. They really
Mhm,
don't even sense that there are other people around them. There are
that's
people
right.
that, are going through different things and just so self consumed, they don't even think about others.
I always called it social blindness. They're just
Yeah.
blind socially, right, to everything going on around them. They don't see it. They just don't have that piece of the puzzle. Those gears don't work. And if they work, they could be very good and high aptitude in something. And if they can be an individual contributor that works alone, and they're not linchpin of a team where they have to have a huge amount of teamwork. And the degrees of all this, right? Some
Right.
people,
Right.
they're a little bit foot in the mouth. Some people are just, you can't take them.
Right. And do you find those folks, oddly enough, there are a lot of those folks in IT
You're right.
that just they need their computer, that is their friend, and they need to be in the corner with their friend.
Sure.
It's just them and the computer, and they can spend hours. And these folks can produce some great work, you know, just knock it out the park. But they really do need to be in their own little world. And it's okay.
Yeah.
That I think you hit it right on the head, just saying sometimes you need to isolate them and they're still a good employee. They still do meet deadlines and do what they need to do. So isolating them and making it so that they don't have to have so many interactions with people because they're not good at it. So you
Yeah.
definitely would not put them in front of a client or have
Oh
them
my
make a
God. No.
presentation. You never do that. But there are things that that person can do and still be a productive member of the team.
Yeah. And IT got a reputation when programmers were always going to meetings with clients, right? Like, oh, those
Yeah.
IT people, they're a
Yeah.
little quirky.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they
Yes.
studied, programming as a profession many years ago and found that these were very introverted people with a very low need to socialize. And by
Right.
the way, that's who you want sitting at the computer programming.
That's
They're
right. That's
perfect.
right.
They don't have to get up every 5 minutes to run around and fulfill their social needs.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
perfect.
and I actually can speak to that because I was trained, my all of my background was in IT and I was
Yeah,
trained as a developer. That's really what I went to school for. I did programming when I
I was
was
a
there
high
at
EQ
Southern College,
developer.
and then all the way through at Auburn, I did more programming. So,
Yeah,
I'm well versed in meeting those people that they need the lab. They need to be in their own little space,
yep.
just them
They
and the
thrive.
computer. Yeah, it's a place of productivity for them, high productivity.
And, it interacts, the computer interacts as they're working the
Yeah,
program, they get, the feedback and they create something and it's, very exciting.
yeah. I
I
think I was a little bit too social.
Me
So
too.
I kind of straddled the fence, as a programmer, and you were a programmer as
I
well. So I
programmed for
think
2 years, that's where I started. I quickly moved up into being a, project manager, supervisor, and then moved
yeah,
to the leadership ranks.
yeah, I think we can empathize with our
Yeah,
fellow techies,
I
but
can. I
then
needed to
have
get up
that
and
other
talk
side
and
of
do practical jokes and stuff, I was in the
yeah,
middle of all sorts of stuff when I first started, you know? And I used to work great with the users. They would come up, I'd get
Right.
assigned, to go down and meet with them to work on stuff, and we all had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
The
I was always the
is the
person they
best.
called on for user acceptance test because I could interact with the client, I could
Yep,
put together the presentations, and actually relate to them, and
yeah,
as opposed to just speaking about everything from the system perspective, but actually understanding the user side of business. And that's really what I still do today. Constantly being that bridge and that gap
yeah,
between the technical folks and the non-technical folks, really being that translator, helping people understand those complex scenarios and then being able to translate that into something that people can grasp.
yeah,
So yeah,
big time,
yeah, you
big
need
time.
those folks on the team. You really do.
Yeah, you
You just
really
have
do.
to have to help them and coach them a little bit.
Yeah, they could be very good in certain jobs, there's no question about it. So
Right.
these low EQ people, they could play a very, very important role, but don't put them in the wrong role because you know their limitations, right?
Right.
That's the
Right.
main thing. Use every tool correctly.
That's right.
Put in
That's
the
right.
people. That's
It's
really cool.
exactly it. Most companies don't even see it that way, where they fail to recognize that the human component of the business is the missing piece that has been
Yeah,
overlooked for so many years. That human component that really learns how to use, and we say use, but really you want to have each person in the appropriate role doing
yeah,
the thing that's best fitted for them as an individual. So use is probably not even the right way to
no.
think about it, but
It's to
that's
unlock
kind
the
of,
best people have to give to unlock their full potential,
yes,
to help them, to nurture them, to help them grow. That is what a high EQ leader does, a servant leader,
right,
to get people to grow. And, after all, that's People Productive's business. I mean, at the end of the
right.
day.
That's it. I mean, you've got
Yeah,
to learn how to put the right person in the right role with the right responsibilities. Like
right.
that's just a piece of the puzzle that I don't think many companies have looked at in a long time. You end up a lot, some of these personality types that we've talked about before, where you've got the narcissist that's leading teams, just because they might be a good spokesperson,
Uh-huh.
but they're not very good leaders. Or some of these low empathy leaders that just really don't care about your personal life, they don't care about you as an individual, they
Yeah,
just want to get the work done. They're just focused on, we've got this
sure.
taskmaster that's just do the work, do the work, do the work. And
Yeah.
so understanding how to manipulate the team and to structure the team in a way that's most beneficial for everyone, that can be a huge unlocker of potential.
That is the key to the digital era, is the ability for leadership teams to unlock the full potential of the organization. Everywhere I ever worked, you could see huge pools of talent potential laying dormant or being stifled. And that was reality, and it still is in many companies. But the best companies, leaders can use human emotion and understanding, the human element as a tool to create an incredible workplace that can outcompete and win. And understanding these unproductive personality types just makes you better. You
Right,
could be sympathetic to them, you could be more inclusive, you could put them in the right role. All of this really matters, whether you're a leader or a coworker, because you want to be able to give your best. Maybe
right.
you could guide that person. Everybody has a role to play in making companies great. Everybody.
Right, right. Everybody has a part to play. And that's the key, recognizing that each person has something that they can contribute to the team as a whole, and finding that thing that you're great at, and then bringing the best out of yourself.
Mhm.
It's very rewarding. It's a very, very
Nothing
rewarding
better.
experience. Yeah,
That's what makes leadership great, that you can see people growing and you can unlock the talent of an organization. I mean, that's amazing. I do think that, everybody should be aware that when you get to these low EQ personalities, sometimes they really can cause damage and you just need to get them out of the place. They may not be able to work with other people. They may be real foot in the mouth. I think they're the extreme examples, but they are there. And not everybody's a cultural fit, right? And sometimes
that's
these
right.
people just don't fit in.
That's right. And it's okay. It's really okay to address that
Okay.
situation and to handle it in a way that is helpful for the entire team.
Yeah. It's very necessary as a leader to make sure you understand where the boundaries are and that if people are crossing them and, they're creating more damage than benefit for the company and they're not really coachable, then hey, there are plenty of people around. You get somebody in who could do it better and not create damage.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So there it is, the low empathy coworker. Hopefully you've learned some interesting stuff. We're going to have the in-crowd leader next week when we meet for the next episode of the Terry and Frank Show. Anything you want to say here to close out, Tara?
Yeah. So, be open to coaching and actually working with that person. We
Uh-huh.
talked about that a little bit, but really give some thought to how you might, as a leader, be able to help them recognize that they might be putting their foot in their mouth more than they think they are. So, that is an excellent way to help rein this person back in. And then, if you realize that this person just cannot be coached, go ahead and give that person assignments where they don't have to interact with people. There are always lots of things on many
Yeah.
teams where you can work independently, work on your own at your own pace, and there are lots of things that will need to get done. Use that person in the way that's best for them and for the company. So
Yeah.
there are lots of win-wins that you can get in a situation like this with this person that may not realize. They may just not have that filter that they need.
They could
But
be the perfect
there's
remote worker.
right, exactly. So
Yes.
learn your people. Don't just leave them in these positions and have them where they are just setting themselves up for failure. Really be a good leader and look out for people and
Mhm.
recognize where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and help move people into the right position so that they can make a better difference and impact on the team.
Yeah, big time. Well, listen, I think it was a fun episode. As
Yeah.
always, great conversation, Tara. We'll see
Yes.
you on the next episode, if not sooner.
Yes. All
Bye,
right. Thanks for
Thirsty.
tuning in.
Yep. Take care. Bye.